Alright, guys. Alright. Welcome back to the podcast. Ooh, my stomach doesn't feel that good. Anyways, I wanted to talk about this whole, kind of focus balance I'm trying to work on here. I've been, trying to figure out how to kind of let things move forward, get things moving forward. Now they are moving forward at least, right? If I think about a little over a year ago, a year and a half, a month ago, when I moved back to LA. When I first moved, I was still working in a job I didn't really want to be working in, and I was like trying to figure out, what am I gonna do? What are the next steps of what I want to do? I gotta get out of this job, but I was like, first step, I gotta get out of that house, because I can't think clearly there when I'm like barely able to kind of even focus on the basics. Like, if a person can't really sleep because of the people who are living there, I mean, you're only gonna get so far. So I was like, it's affecting my work too much. I'm not gonna get better at work, even at the job I had. So even if I were to switch jobs, you know, doing it while living in that house, I'd still be putting a lot of my energy into just trying to maintain my energy. So that wasn't gonna work. Staying there wasn't gonna work. September rolled around in 2022, and I decided, let me jump into tech because that's something that I have an interest in outside of the, you know, care working and compassion work space. Um, but part of me was worried that like it would get too technical, too digital, too cold, too like, unfulfilling in a way where it's like I can't really, you know, practice compassion, or I can't really practice, you know, all these kind of like esoteric styles of thinking. I can't really practice, um, like those things that I find fulfilling, for my psyche, for my being, like this, for like building more authentic connection with myself and even like learning about myself. Like I feel like working in psychology, at least I was constantly being challenged about like this problem, that problem, this idea, that idea, this circumstance, that circumstance. This person needs this from me. Let me be there for them. Let me check back in. I was able to do those things, and yes, it got draining once the reality of like, okay, the economy's not getting easier to deal with. My pay rate's not getting better for me to reach my needs with the economy. I didn't have opportunities to really move anymore because everything was going to be so expensive that I couldn't just independently just like apply for a small studio and just move out. Like that wasn't going to happen. I wasn't going to qualify for a place that's $2,000 a month. But then I started realizing too, I was like, well, podcasting, blogging, I don't do much YouTube. um a little bit, like I'll do like cannabis reviews, but other than that, like I don't really do YouTube. um and I don't really do those routinely. Like I do them on occasion, but not routinely. um but yeah, I felt um maybe that jumping into tech would be too far removed from, you know, compassion work. And then, you know, now I'm realizing though that, you know, using some skills, learning, like it was more so like the skill building and learning that was hard for me. Like I feel like it's possible to implement compassion and, you know, thinking about, you know, just different things like ego defenses and that kind of stuff. It's easier to think about that stuff once I've got the templates and basics and things like that down of like what I'm doing for the monetization process, for the machine, for the algorithm, like what am I putting in there? Like now that I kind of have an idea of how to strategize how that's supposed to look, I can put the work in on the end that is more authentically how I want things to be. And so it's going to take a little bit for me to shift into doing things like that, but you guys have probably noticed I've been like not recording episodes that are very thought provoking or very, you know, in tune with like anything. Like I've just been kind of like, this is what I did today, and if I did anything a little more interesting than just a general that I can put into a category, I'll record about that. But otherwise, I haven't been recording a lot of thought-provoking content for that reason. It's not that I don't want to, it's just there's a learning curve that I've been trying to work with here, that I've been trying to integrate both. It's like I don't want to be creating content that nobody wants to hear, nobody wants to listen to. So learning about analytics, tracking analytics, planning around, you know, content that people actually want to hear, and trying to strategize around that. And I don't really script, but I guess like note taking around that and like things like that is like uh it should be more like, I don't know, it doesn't have to be that difficult, I guess, but just trying to figure out a strategy has taken me a couple months. And so now that I'm kind of there, you know, and now that, you know, I've been a lot further along on this healing journey, you know, with kind of like strategies of like how to address my sleep and how to address my mentality and how to address exercise and how to address what I eat and how to address like how my time is spent and when I'm busy and when I'm resting and when I'm learning. And I mean, of course I don't have like a full system down. A little bit of a system is better than no system, so I've got a system to work with now, but it's taken a while for me to get to it. So I always appreciate everyone's patience with, you know, me not recording stuff that people want to hear, because sometimes I'm like, I just want to put out the recordings. Like it's not like empty, you know, like just like I'm just recording fluff for the algorithm. It's not like that. It's like, you know, but I want to record my process, and then part of the process will be revealed just in the way the content kind of shifts with how my life is shifting. Like everything's kind of shifting right now. So, you know, I'm working on these like portfolio type projects and trying to start at like a bottom level, you know, like interning, entry level, some bottom level of just like work that I can learn, but also learn, practice, and learn to implement different things, even to my own work, because I think I'm not going to learn that through only YouTube and that kind of stuff. I think it's going to take, well, YouTube and classes. So I've, you know, taken classes and then YouTube, but and practicing it. But I think I'm going to get to a phase after this one where I start implementing what I've learned so far. I'm going to get to this phase where I need to start implementing what I've learned through working, you know, and it's going to be low paid work, and there's going to be a learning curve that, you know, it's going to be a bit stressful, but I've got to get everything else in place first. I can't just jump into something where it's like, I don't really have a health routine or anything like that. So, I mean, I've been seeing a little bit of results with my weight. Not a lot, but it's like a couple pounds lost on average, which is good news. It's going to be about maintaining that. Like, half a pound a week isn't bad for me. I mean, I'm not trying to like lose a lot of weight. I don't mind gaining muscle. That's kind of more what I would prefer, gaining muscle, because just naturally that would work for me. Um, I've got fat to work with to kind of turn that into muscle. So um, that is one good thing. Like, and I do build muscle mass pretty quickly. Um, but it's really hard, honestly, for me to strategize with like workouts and sleep schedules, and it just takes like what I've been doing is planning a little bit one day what I'm going to do the next day, and kind of reflecting a little bit here and there on some stuff, and just tweaking a little bit here and there on some stuff, because there's so many different variables. I'm like, I can't work on all of these every day all the time, because sometimes I have to plow through with certain stuff. So it's like sometimes I have to just focus on learning, sometimes I have to focus on creating, sometimes I have to focus on relaxing, sometimes I have to focus on getting refocused. It's like there's a lot that, for me it's easier to do things in chunks than it is to kind of just be like, okay, this hour I'm doing this, then that hour I'm doing that, then this hour I'm doing this. It's like, and then making little movements. Like, to me that makes me a little scattered, because I'm not organized enough to choose like 6 things to do every day. It's like I usually have one thing in mind. I'm like, I've got this or that in mind. Like today, I was like, I'm recording episodes before breakfast. Check mark. I'm already doing that. After that, I've got a lot of blogging to do. That's going to be easy to do the blogging after breakfast until lunch. I can sit and I can do that. But I've also got job applications. I've also got resumes to edit. I've also got exercise to fit in. I've also got, some meditations to fit in. I'll see if I do any delivery driving. It's like stuff like that where it's like I've got other stuff I've got to do. I can't not make money. The delivery driving is the easiest way for me to make money, but then I can't just sit all day and do delivery driving, because then all this other stuff goes out the window. And then I can't never do the driving, because then I won't be secure with my bank account. And there's just a lot of stuff where I'm like just trying to see if I can make things work out. And then I've got this like impending like trip that I really want to take that's going to cost a whole lot of money. And if I can't figure that out within like about a month, I'm not going to be able to do that. And so it's like that takes a lot of effort and energy too, which would take a lot of, consistent, focus on paid work. And the easiest paid work right now is Uber Eats driving. That's the easiest thing to do, because I don't have to do anything. I'm already enrolled to be able to just do it whenever I hit go on the app. And if I get orders, I get orders. But it's like, it's just, that's kind of where I'm at right now. Is like, there's a lot of little things to balance. And I have to keep pushing through with all of them. Because these are a lot of things. There's a lot of things I've been kind of like avoiding or ignoring for the last years of my life, because I've been just focusing on working in psych, which is fine, because that's what I needed to do at that time. But I wanted to talk about something that Heinz mentioned, because it's something I've been trying to work on, but I'm going to be live strategizing in this episode, because I don't really have a strategy for this right now. But, setting time for the self, blocking out time for the self. Now, there's something I don't talk about much, because it's not something that I really want to share too much, because people take things whatever way they take them, and I'm not here to kind of like isolate people based on their biases and things. Like, I will say some outrageous stuff sometimes that I know is like, yeah, maybe it's my political agenda or whatever, or just my views, but I'm more so here to, I want people to feel like the spaces are safe for people to have their differences. People don't have to agree with how I live my life or the choices I make. They don't have to agree with the gay stuff. They don't have to agree with the weed stuff. They don't have to, it's like, but those are realities for my life. So I'm not trying to like completely, ignore it or like not ever mention it. But I do have places where if people want to engage with my content about LGBT stuff, I've got a whole place where all that is being posted. If people want to engage with my content about the weed stuff, I've got a whole place where all that's being posted. But then I will also mention it on occasion because it's part of my life. So I can't just be like, oh, I'm just going to avoid it because it's controversial. But I mean, I mention it in passing because it's like, oh, if it comes up, it comes up. But if that's not what I'm directly talking about in certain episodes, I try not to talk about it. So, I guess the reason why I'm saying that is because overall, I don't want the podcasting to be like I'm pushing my agendas or pushing my lifestyle choices or my lifestyle methods of kind of like strategizing in my life are the best ones. I mean, you guys know they're not the best ones. If you hear the stuff that I post, it's like I clearly have issues with things, that I haven't figured out yet. But one of the things I'm working on lately is focus, because I have all these little things that are big things, they're actually like very important things that I have to figure out, and I have time to figure them out. I have space to figure them out. It's hard to be patient to figure them out. I'm motivated and driven, which to me is surprising me, because I was so worried that taking time off would just make me depressed and make me just want to sit and lay in bed and never do anything and just sit and watch Netflix, and days and months and weeks would pass by where I didn't do anything. But what I'm realizing is because I'm the one setting the tone and I'm the one creating based on what I feel like I want to create, it's a little easier for me to just be like, oh, I want to wake up and podcast before breakfast. I want to wake up at 6:45 in the morning and like start getting my coffee ready and bathroom breaks and all that stuff and, get it going. Like, that's how I was this morning. Like, yesterday, I was more refreshed because I took the day to refresh myself. But Tuesday, Monday, those were rough days. I was like, dude, like, I'm already struggling and the week just started. And, I took Wednesday and was getting work done but also recouped. And now Thursday, we're in Friday Eve and things are feeling good. And that's kind of what I wanted. But, it's not too excuse me, my throat. Yeah, it's kind of what I've been wanting. It's just, you know, I'm the kind of person that was taught, you're gonna work a 9 to 5, you're gonna do things this way, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. Weekends you get off, or holidays you get off, or you earn PTO and then you take PTO. And I'm like, okay, and I see that working in an intensive environment for so long, that did not work for me as far as for my health. I wasn't able to do too good with trying to take classes while I was working because I was barely above water. Like, I was doing well enough that I wasn't too bad off, but in my head, and I really noticed, I was like, I've got to change something. And I'm glad I made the effort to change something, because I'm like, if I would have stayed in that, I would have been so, I can't imagine if I would have just this last 6 months still been, at that job. I would have still been getting nowhere on the financial end. Um, I wouldn't have learned like most of what I've learned. I've basically learned a lot of skills around sales, a lot of skills around digital marketing, and practicing a lot in projects and things. Like, I'm not like super good at it, but at least I kind of have a direction. Versus before, I was just like, let me just bang this out and see what happens, and then forget about it for like 5 months. Like, I had no real like schedule with anything, that I wasn't really testing anything. I was just kind of like post when I feel like posting, but otherwise I have no energy for this. So there was no strategy. So now I've got like strategy. Um, but when Hines was talking about setting time for the self to do things, I've already noticed that I have 2 times of the week that I already do that. So, people know I grew up with this Sabbath, Friday sundown to Saturday sundown, and that's a point of time that for me is a lot about self reflection and on kind of a pretty deep level. Um, and I don't really talk too much in detail about what I do during those times, but if I didn't do it, I don't think it would help me with my energy for the next couple days, because that's definitely time that I know I have off. And then I started doing these like Weed Wednesdays, because I realized, well, if I'm not working at a company, I can be stoned all day. Like, nobody's gonna say anything because it's just me. So it's like, if I have to go and get some errands done, as long as I'm not driving anywhere, I can be stoned at home. But I use it as a time of reflection, a time to kind of reset. Yeah, it's kind of a little bit of recreational and fun, but it's mostly like a self-care day, and I do that Wednesdays. Now, Whiskey Wednesday for me turned into Weed Wednesday. So basically, when I was in San Diego and, had friends that, we happened to have this cool schedule for like a year, maybe a year and a half, where we all could go out Wednesday nights because nobody had to do anything early on a Thursday. So the people I worked with, none of us worked until noon. And then my friends who weren't working at that same site, a lot of them had stuff to do later on Thursdays, and they weren't starting to need to be anywhere at like 8 or 9 in the morning. So we could go out Wednesday nights to like 11 p.m., 12 p.m., do karaoke, play some pool, go to a bar, have some drinks, go out to dinner, have some drinks, whatever. And we started calling it Whiskey Wednesdays because it was like that was the day of the week we could go out and do stuff and, maybe get a little buzz on and, let loose a little bit midweek. And it really helped get through the week. But now it's like, well, I don't really drink like that. And, I don't really go out that much when I'm in LA. I don't really have, like, that schedule kind of fell off too. And so, because I haven't been doing those things, I've just been, having to wait to see when I can go out. But I was like, that really helped to have that midweek to kind of go out. So, Weed Wednesday is another full day that I set aside for myself where, I mean, I might not be stoned all day, but, I might be, and it's like, if I want to be, that's my decision, and nobody can tell me not to do it. And, you know, um, and I find it more helpful than not. I mean, I think a lot of people who don't understand cannabis might be like, oh, well, why are you doing that? But it's like, honestly, with the way my energy goes sometimes, if I didn't do that, if I didn't have like a midweek day, like I've noticed the weeks where I don't have that midweek time to just like unwind my head, for quite a few hours on end, then once Thursday comes around, I'm pretty depleted. Thursdays are usually my hardest day, but now they've almost become my easiest day. Tuesdays are now kind of harder, but then I know I have Weed Wednesday the next day. And for me, it's all about the mentality of, like, I know how my mind works. I'm able to push when I know I have the next day free. that is usually the easiest way for me to push when I know that I don't have to do anything coming up. I can just push to the finish of of whatever I need to do that day. Um, Fridays, are easy for me to push because it's almost the weekend, you know. And that's why I think a lot of people are like, the case of the Mondays, it's like Monday comes around and then you got 5 whole days that you gotta just grind. For me, it's more like Sunday comes around and I'm kind of like starting to grind Sunday. And then Monday is like the work week, and then Tuesday is the day that is hard for me because I've already been busy probably from not lately Saturday night because sundown is so late. It's a little after 8 p.m. So because it's so late, I'm usually not getting a whole lot done Saturday nights. And I do want to stop staying up late. Like this last weekend I stayed up pretty late quite a few days, and that screwed me for the beginning of my week. And then that screwed the beginning of my week up until, like, if I didn't take a weed Wednesday yesterday, I never would have gotten my sleep on track. I never would have probably exercised. I never would have gotten in so much meditation. I never would have gotten in so much relaxation. And I got work done. It's like I wouldn't have done any of that. I would have probably just stared at a computer all day and done nothing, or been clicking around and unfocused and not really, like, when you feel like you're getting stuff done, and then you look back and you're like, I didn't actually accomplish anything. I was just like feeling like I was doing the work, but I wasn't focused enough to do it because I would have been depleted on energy, therefore not focused. And I get a little like scattered, and I can work in a scattered state, which is not good. Like, I basically work, but I'm not working towards any goal, and I'm just like doing tasks that aren't yielding any potential for like a future result, but I'm doing them. It's like, let me change all the little thumbnails of all of my Gmail account my Gmail accounts. Let's change all the little thumbnail pictures. Let's organize, some folders, things like that. It's like, okay, maybe it comes in handy later, but it's like I can spend a whole day doing stuff like that, and then it's like next thing I know, it's time for bed, and I haven't really done anything I set out to do. So I think that's where a lot of the changes that I'm focusing on can be made is more like being intentional. And I know that, Lex Friedman talked about his schedule, and I do know a lot about flow states. That's how I got through school, was flow states. Now, I always had a hard time focusing in classes, but I was always good at learning by myself at home. And so I would sit through the classes, do what I got to do in the classes. But usually what I would do is come home and just study. I'd study before school. I'd study after my classes before I left campus. And I'd come home and I'd study more. And I'd leave the house and I would never, hardly ever study at the house. And I'd always be at like a bookstore or a coffee shop or a library. And I'd always be out studying. And that's how I got through high school, through college, through grad school. That's how I got through school. I was basically self-taught. I read the books myself. Because I would just be spacing out in class and like whatever, like, or I'd take notes in class and then it's like try to learn from my notes. It wasn't till later in grad school I realized, I need to listen more and write less. And one professor kind of mentioned that to me, and I was like, that can't be right, because I was like, I don't know how I'm doing so poorly in this class. I showed her my notes and she's like, you're taking way too many notes. And for me, it was like everything seemed important because the field was pretty new to me, with the clinical stuff. And so, I thought, that's something I definitely need to reincorporate is, being able to focus intently. So one simple thing I'm gonna do is start like sitting at my desk to get things done. I've gotten into this bad habit of sitting on my bed because it's comfortable. And I've gotten into another habit of having my phone out all the time. It's next to me, it's in my pocket. I need to just put that thing in a drawer across the room, or even in another room if I need to take it to that extent, and put it somewhere else. I can't have it next to me anymore, because I've got too much of like this automatic habit of just like checking my phone and checking, I don't know what I'm checking for, text messages, Instagram, just like scrolling around, you know. So what I've started to do is create a little to-do list of who I need to contact, whether that's calling somebody back or contacting someone back on WhatsApp or texting somebody back. I'll just put a little list together of that, and then, you know, deal with it. Like maybe make one phone call a week to call back. Like yesterday I made a doctor's appointment. Today I sent a text to a family member about some of my summer plans that I've been wanting to tell them about. And then I've got another message. I need to call, one of my banks called me about something. I need to call a bank about something. And I'll do that before the end of this week. I told them I'll call before the end of the week. So it's either today or tomorrow. But things like that, I'm like, I just have it kind of on the list and it's going to get done. But, you know, now it's out of my head. I don't really have to think about it or focus too much about, oh, did I do it? Did I not do it? When am I going to do it? It's like, it's on the list. It'll get done. It's all going to get done by Friday, you know, by the end of Friday. But for now, you know, I just need to focus on creating content and then getting in my breaks so that I can properly feel like I took my breaks. Like I need my breaks, you know. So I need my meditation breaks, but you know, I feel like using my phone so much is like having too many breaks and really screwing my concentration. So I'm really gonna try to focus after breakfast, see how it works for today and tomorrow, because there's a lot of stuff I haven't been getting done. Even though I'm kind of getting a little bit done on it, I'm not getting a lot done compared to what I know I can do and compared to how much I said I was going to try to do. I'm not getting a lot done. So that's what I'm going to do today and tomorrow. And also planning on, you know, posting more content like this, kind of more in the esoteric realm of like, you know, what's my mind doing? Like what's really going on, you know? I think what's really going on is all this like screen time, phone addiction, all that kind of stuff, not being as intentional, being too distracted, because the phone is a lot more fun than, you know, thinking through what I'm going to write. Sometimes, you know, it's like at a deeper level. So, all right, guys, I'm done with this post for now. I hope I'm slowly redeeming myself. I haven't been too pleased with the content I've been posting, but I'm pleased that I was consistent with posting because I wanted to post consistently, and that was the goal. The goal wasn't necessarily the quality. The goal was keep the content out there, and when it's time for the better content to come, it will get there once my life kind of gets a little more structured, because I've been all over the place. This is a process for me, guys. But all right, it's 8:45 a.m. Gotta get some food in me and get going. Thanks for listening.